Hi, my name is Cody Hiroshima, engineering associate at AICHE, and today I'm going to be interviewing Helen Durand, assistant professor of chemical engineering and material science at Wayne State University. My guest is chairing the cybersecurity session at the 2018 AICG annual meeting, and she presented her presentation, Designing Difficult to Cyber Attack Process Control Systems. Thank you for joining us today, Helen.
Thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. So I think we can start off by us checking your presentation addressed the need for cybersecurity in process control systems. Can you tell us about the control systems at chemical plants and why their cybersecurity might be an issue?
Sure. So control systems are computing systems that are used to operate processes automatically. So they'll do things like decide when to open valves, how much, at the right times, and similarly changing how much heat you apply to your process at the right times, things like that. And so because they're computing systems, then they do have the ability to be cyber attacked. And this is a significant concern potentially from a safety perspective, because what controllers do is they actually go in and they physically manipulate how your process acts. So then if someone was able to cyber attack these, they wouldn't just be attacking a computer system that's just sitting on your desk. They would really be able to physically actually impact how your process is operating.
Oh, wow, so they can really get the physical impact from the cyber world.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are some things that we can do to try to prevent these cybersecurity breaches to help with the plant safety?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's definitely some more on the IT side type of solutions, and those are probably ones that we hear about a lot, things like having firewalls or making sure that you're secure against known vulnerabilities, or that you don't have a lot of people being able to access the control systems who maybe wouldn't supposed to be. But then there's actually a lot that we can think about from a chemical engineering perspective as well. And so some of these things are that we can look at better ways of detecting cyber attacks, and then for a chemical process, part of that would look at how are the process dynamics, how do processes behave, how do we expect them to behave, then how could we know when they're not behaving that way. There's things that we can look at in terms of control design for chemical processes, trying to see whether or not we could develop controllers that make it more difficult to cyber attack those, and then even looking at it from a process design perspective. So similar to the way that we look at process safety, and then we try to handle that through saying things like, okay, well, if my process has a certain problem that I could see might happen, then I'll install something from a physical perspective, like a safety valve, so that if the pressure in my reactor goes too high, that there's a vent, and so that I'm physically protecting my process. And then so that would be another avenue to start looking at for cybersecurity. How could we design sort of cyber secure processes from more of that physical and design perspective?
Yes, of course. So it sounds like cybersecurity is really quickly becoming an important part in industry and research. So what are some research directions in cybersecurity and challenges you see in the future, especially with how important we know plant safety is?
Yeah, definitely. So I think some of those big research topics right now are in the areas of detection, control design, and then sort of process design. But then from a challenge perspective, one thing that I think needs to be addressed is, I don't know that it's necessarily 100% clear exactly what all the ways someone could cyber attack a system are. There are a lot of different attacks that we could imagine, but then I think there's things that probably we haven't imagined, and I think that's a really important direction for people to go to try to better understand this, so that then we can make sure we're being cyber secure against all the things that could happen, and not just against maybe the ones that come to mind the most easily.
Yes, because there's always something that someone else can think of that we might not think of at the top of our head. Yeah. So I'd like to thank you very much for sharing your perspective on cybersecurity. If you have any other comments you'd like to address our audience?
Sure, my closing thoughts would just be that this is really a critical issue from a safety perspective, but the one exciting thing is that it is actually able to be handled in part by chemical engineers, that it's not only a computer science or an IT solution. It does have a large part that chemical engineers can play, and so I think that's really exciting for our field.
Great, thank you again, Helen.
Thank you.